Hey, welcome to Team 9, and today we are presenting Ivory Coast and the international relations. Ivory Coast is a country located in sub-Saharan West Africa, former colony of France which gained independence in 1960. The economical capital is Abidjan, located in the coast, and the political capital, Yamoussoukro, is located about the center of the country. Ivory Coast succeeded as an exporter of cocoa as the major top worldwide producer and also as a coffee producer. These exports and industries generated prosperity and greater hope for the future of the country. It has a population of over 23 million people. Their major languages are French and indigenous languages, and their religions are Islam, Christianity, and indigenous beliefs.
The role of Ivory Coast in the international system has the following characteristics. In the economic field, they have broadly liberal economic system that was actively integrated into the world market and was combined with basically authoritarian mode of political regulation. They also are the top producer worldwide of cocoa, and with his exports, they enable the country to achieve an enviable level of prosperity and social development. In the political field, the Ivorian government has historically played an important and constructive role in Africa. They are an important country in the mediation of regional disputes, most notably in Liberia and Angola. In addition, they are members of the OAU conflict resolution mechanism.
Okay, so this is what Ivory Coast has done as part of their foreign policy. They have maintained a healthy relationship with their neighbors Angola and Burkina Faso. They have increased the Indo-Ivorian relationship and the USA-Ivorian relationship too. They have focused on their major buyers that are the Netherlands, Germany, Vietnam, the USA, that as these ones add more than the 33% of their exportations. They have taken advantage of their opportunities exporting cocoa, rubber, gems, and precious metals and nuts. With this information, we consider them an emerging market of West Africa. And they have had a growing period between 2016 and 2021, where they made relationships between the public and the private sector. They have also given privilege to the medium to small enterprises, so these ones can improve the GDP. And they have also had a regional integration.
The Ivory Coast has a good geographic position related to the economic field because it's open into the sea. They have the possibility to conclude so many business and agreements with other countries. Also, it's a country in transition from underdevelopment, so their economy is stable and currently growing. There are some factors that determine the foreign policy of Ivory Coast. In the geographic, as I said before, Ivory Coast is defined as a maritime and continental country because of its close position of the sea. In the sociocultural factors, a good part of Ivorian cultural heritage comes from France. As their official and usual language, their methods of teaching are also in French. In the political historical factors, the international actions of Ivory Coast were determined by France during the period of French administration. Also, their transition from underdevelopment puts themselves in the interest of highly developed countries both economically and financially side.
Now we want to tell you a little bit about Ivory Coast as a member of international organizations and its participation. Ivory Coast is a member of more than 35 international organizations around the globe, and it is one of the leading countries in organizations in West Sub-Saharan Africa and, let's say, Africa in general. Some of you may know, some of others not so much. We want to show you some examples about Ivory Coast as a member of international organizations and what projects do they do in the country.
First example is the African Union Club. This ING has active multiple programs in the country, and the country has been member since 1963. Another one is the IMF. Ivory Coast has an active participation and multiple loans in the IMF, which extend to 27.1 billion US dollars, about 46% of the GDP. Lastly, the WTO, in which Ivory Coast has four main regional trade agreements, which boost the economy. Participation and impact on key political trends. First, the political environment. The politics of Ivory Coast takes place in a framework of a presidential representative democratic republic, whereby the president of Ivory Coast is both the head of state and the head of government, and of a multi-party system. Executive power is exercised by the president and the government. Legislative power is vested in both the government and the parliament. Even though there's numerous political parties, the power is more or so a centralized one. The capital since 1983, as Susanna says, is Yamoussoukro. However, Abidjan remains the commercial center. Most countries maintain their embassies in Abidjan. A civil war was fought in Ivory Coast between 2002 and 2004, and that's a key political factor in what history is represented in Ivory Coast. A second civil war broke out in March of 2012, following contested elections that saw President-elected Alassane Ouattara coming to power in 2011 and re-elected in 2015. These political points really made up about what is going on in the country and how Côte d'Ivoire has advanced through time.
One of the most important socioeconomic trends for the Ivory Coast is the COVID-19 pandemic. The economy of Ivory Coast depends on the export of cacao to the rest of the world. And with the 2020 pandemic, all the commerce of the world was extremely affected by the restrictions in travel and the shutdowns that practically every country suffered. Although global commerce was extremely difficult, Ivory Coast was one of the few countries that actually grew in the pandemic. So these are some of the economic data from Ivory Coast through the 2020 pandemic. One of the most important global challenges that the Ivory Coast faces is the violation of human rights. As a developing country, Ivory Coast has many problems regarding the way it treats its citizens. For example, they suffer from very high rates of political instability, which causes lots of discomfort to the local population. So when the people try to protest, the army or police of the country almost always abuses their power, not only hurting the protesters, also killing and wrongfully imprison many innocent civilians. One of the most important international priorities for Ivory Coast is to maintain the export of cacao to the rest of the world, because Ivory Coast depends on the income from their cacao export. The cacao export is crucial because the Ivory Coast wants to be an economic powerhouse to the north of Africa, so they depend on the income from their exports to invest in their nation. Another important priority for the Ivory Coast is to maintain good relations with their neighbors and economic giants, such as France, so they could help the Ivory Coast evolve into a developed country.